We are live on the podcast stage at ICCC. We have with us today Julian Glover. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a great pleasure.
How are you enjoying the con so far?
Well, very good, considering it's the quiet day of the first three.
Right,
and,
right.
And even so, we're doing quite nicely, thank you very much. The best thing about it, and I know it sounds arch to say so, but the people are so nice. They're really looking after us, and they care about what's happening here.
If they don't, you tell me, and I'll make sure to talk to them and get it taken care of.
This is the South. We have a reputation
That is
to maintain.
true. We are.
Southern hospitality. So I
Good,
don't think
good.
that has anything to do with it. I think they're just good people.
Yeah, that's
Nashville,
true.
Tennessee.
Yes,
We're
sir.
glad that you are enjoying today, the calm before the storm, as they say, for tomorrow. The
Tomorrow
big
is
day.
going to be pretty busy, I think. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask you, before we went on, she kind of asked you a question about film and roles, about being nervous for something new. Can you tell us when you do something new, you are nervous when you do something?
Definitely. I think most actors must be. If they're not, I don't think they're proper actors because they can't really care about it. Each time, it sounds, I don't know, silly to say so, but each time you're doing something new and different, and you want to do it as well as you can, not just because you want to look good, but because you want to convey whatever message it is that the play or the film or the advert or whatever is trying to convey, and that's your job. That's why you're being paid. And so you get nervous because maybe I'll get it wrong. Sometimes after beginning a new play, that of course is a very big. I played King Lear, and there's a lot of words there, and they're not exactly the words that you speak like you speak it now.
Right.
And you get pretty nervous. I mean, before that, I thought I can't go on. There's no way of climbing this mountain. I can't do it. But I did. Here we still are.
Do you like theater more than film, or are you film more than theater?
I came into the theatre, meaning the generic term for what we do, to be an actor in the theatre, and that is certainly my first love. It is the thing that. It's the thing I know I was meant to do, and film, I enjoy it very much indeed when it's good.
Right.
Well, that's the same with theatre, of course, as well. If it's bad, there's nothing worse than having to get up every night and stand on a box and pretend to be somebody else badly.
Right.
That is not good news, and in fact, it's hateful. In the film, at least you can do it again. If you get it wrong, you can do it again.
Right.
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 But quite often, directors allow you to stop doing it before you got it right, in your opinion. But you never know how it's going to go. Sometimes it's very rewarding. In the studio, if you get a round of applause from the crew, that is a really wonderful compliment. And you know that you must have done it good then at that time. In the theatre, of course, you get the applause at the end, or you don't.
Right. You could see the passion when people were in theater versus film. I was a theater nut when I was in high school. I never did anything. I wish I did.
The theater.
I could see the love that you have for theater. I always love seeing that look in a person's eyes when you can tell that how much they love the theater.
Well, it's for a practitioner. It's not an essential. Good Lord, people do lots of very good work without not caring very much about it, because they have a natural talent and they just throw it out. Dame Judi Dench, who is one of the most committed actors I've ever met in my life, only does the script if the director says it's very good, Judy, I want you to do it. Okay, I'll do it. Don't give me the script. I'll do it.
Oh, wow.
That means she's going to do some acting.
Yeah.
And it will be really good acting. I didn't fall in love with the theatre. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I was lucky in that I went to a school. I got there when I was about 14, which was in South London. It was founded by a very, very, very famous at the time Shakespearean actor called Edward Alleyn, and he founded a school for poor boys when he made a few quid doing touring. That's the way to make money, touring. Anyway, and this school exists to this day.
Oh,
It's called
wow.
Alien's College of God's Gift, it's called. Anyway, and I was new to the school, and a new English master popped along who'd only just finished coming out of his military training. This is not too long after the war. And he decided to start the tradition of doing Shakespeare plays in this theatre. And so he did a production of Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare, open air, modern dress. It was created a great stir at the time. Very unusual to do that sort of thing then. And for some reason, because I never thought ever of being an actor, good Lord, I'm rather a shy little boy, would you believe? He cast me in the part of Mark Antony, who many of your listeners will know is a really showy role. It's a really flash role. And that was my first one in Shakespeare. And I went home that evening until I found it to my parents. I found it, this is it. And they didn't complain. They didn't go, "Oh my God, my son wants to be an actor." They realised they had a boy of 15 who knew what he wanted to do, and
not
so
many
they encouraged me
15-year-olds
all the
do.
way. What?
Not many 15-year-olds do.
No, exactly.
Yes.
And I've never looked back on that. And the bad times, the awful times, as well as the good times, I've never had. I couldn't now do anything else. I wanted to be an archaeologist, would you believe? But when I found acting, whoa, out the window that went.
And you wanted to be an archaeologist, and you ended up in Indiana Jones
Yeah.
and the Last Crusade.
Was that interesting?
Yeah. That's awesome. Talking about archaeologists and Indiana Jones, how was it working with Harrison and in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
How does it work in comparison? What to being
it-
a real archaeologist?
Well, the closest to we can get in cinema. One of the best archaeologists we can get to in cinema.
Well, of course, Indiana Jones is the best one.
Of course.
That's my favourite film out of all the films I've made. And as you know, I've been in some these big blockbuster films, which I've been terribly lucky to get those. Really lucky. Pure nepotism, of course. I got those parts. But Indiana Jones was so rewarding because for many reasons, very good, wonderful part, but working with Sean and with Harrison and Steven Spielberg was just a complete and utter joy, because you knew it was the creme de la creme. And that they liked me. You could tell they liked me, and I knew I was on the right track right from the beginning, and there was no argument about that. I just was playing the part, and I knew I was completely centred in that part. I didn't have any distractions from it. I just knew what to do with it immediately, so which was just paradise to do.
So do you enjoy, because, in your filmography, play a lot of villains, play a lot of very posh, villains. Do you enjoy that? Is that something that you really leaned into?
You see, I play villains, you see. People get it wrong. You must never
Maybe
think...
misunderstood.
The actor must never think he's playing a villain.
Oh, okay.
That's a good way to look
Maybe
at it.
it's a misunderstood.
Even Hitler thought he got it right.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
If you talk about Indiana Jones, well, what's he doing? He's getting money in order to what? Find the secret of eternal life. Now, what would you do for the secret of eternal life? You'd kill your mother. and, I don't joke. A lot of people would for that reward, and that's what he's after. What he does wrongly is to join the Nazi Party to get money in order to do that. You notice he doesn't actually adhere to Nazism in his speeches and all that. It's a contact. So I maintain that he's an okay guy who just went the wrong way and was terribly unlucky with his choice of cup.
He chose poorly. I think that character, Walter Donovan, I actually have to agree with you. I don't actually see him more as the villain of the movie. I see him as more of the villain of himself, of what he wanted to achieve so much that you're right. He would sell his own mother down the river for eternal life.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see him as like you would say a villain, I just what's tragedy? I would see it as a tragedy of his own doing.
How lovely! I found someone who finds Walter Donovan a tragic
I'm
person.
just saying he pushed.
He's one of my favorite.
He made
He's one of my
Elsa-
favorite villains. I'm not gonna lie to
He
you.
made Elsa, you know, like he made her do the hard work.
You know. In chess, there's pawns. I'm just saying.
Spoken like a true villain. Okay.
In chess, there's
so-
pawns.
No, that movie was a comfort movie for me when I was about 12, and I had it on VHS, and I just played it over and over
I
again.
agree.
And I never did associate, Walter with like the bad guy, but I didn't,
Oh, he's
obviously he's not.
in
the good
film
guy.
terms, he's the villain. In
Oh,
film
yes.
terms, of course he
Yeah,
is.
he's not the good
But
guy.
an actor, I don't want to sound silly about it. He has to find the raison d'être.
Oh,
Why he
sure.
does what he does. Indiana Jones. I mean, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
People say he's a villain. He's not a villain. He's just a first-rate general who happens
General
to work
Beard.
for the side you don't favour. And and he's a damn good general.
Oh yes.
He fights a good battle. Does old
He
Veers.
destroys the power generators.
Yes, and For Your Eyes Only, the film For Your Eyes Only, and he was a man who was getting money in order to train up this girl for the Olympics. A damn good job he was making of it. He was in the resistance during the war. I thought he was a great guy.
Well, I think it's interesting that you play these people who are on the wrong side, but none of them are hated characters. You know how we have people that we just really hate.
Oh yes, yes.
You're the villain, but
No, I'm not-
you never play somebody that's unlikable.
Did you see Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
I'm not a Joffrey.
Yes.
exactly.
No.
Like Pycelle.
We don't
do
talk
we like
about
him? I mean, we don't hate him.
People argue about him, old Pycelle.
Really?
Yes, they're divided about it. They don't know whether he's good or bad. And I just know he's the oldest person in the series, apart from anything else.
Right.
He's still there.
Yep.
Right.
He was there for 6 series.
Yep.
And what he was good at was knowing which way to play,
Yep.
whose side to be on. And I have to say that I personally invented an aspect of his character which was not written in the original, was that in his private life, he was an active man in several ways, which we needn't discuss on the radio. And that he lived that private life, but then when he went out, he bent double and became this old doddering fellow. So no one could think of getting rid of him until at the very end when they did. And that was great because he was as I say, the oldest person in the series, and he was killed by children.
Yeah.
Which is a wonderful irony. I mean, the script of that show is full of things like that. If you see the things more than once, you say, oh my God, of course, because that happened in the very first episode, and here's an echo of it here. And not just with my character, with all the characters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
Oh,
think
yeah.
is testimony to the writers of that show working so closely with
Very,
R.R. Martin.
very,
him
very.
being
It was
so
a
involved
terrific
and
show.
stuff.
It really
yeah.
was.
Yeah, it is.
It's
And you worked with so many great people,
Yes.
on it too.
Mostly
so many.
British actors, I'm here to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but some brilliant American ones. Oh, yes.
I bet you it was just so much fun to be on that set.
But it wasn't fun, I tell you, because it was physically not too good.
Oh, it is a lot of hills, right?
Start with the beard.
Oh yeah.
It was a nightmare.
Did you have to grow that?
It's so itchy, and you have to take your moustache off to have your lunch. And you have to tell people, don't tell me jokes, because if you go, ha, 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 it stretches your face and it comes off. It's awful. And also, the thing I had around my neck, which was all made of iron, not plastic or anything, iron, was so heavy. I know I was acting it all bent over double anyway, but it was so heavy that it was deeply, deeply difficult to wear.
Oh, geez.
And I had to wear a wrestler's belt around my waist,
Oh.
and it was anchored. That was anchored at my neck to the wrestler's belt to take the pressure off my neck.
Oh wow.
Now that was. This I'm not really
Well, they
complaining.
hit-
it was a wonderful part,
Well,
but that made it physically uncomfortable.
Sure.
What was good was going to Dubrovnik.
Oh,
That
wow.
was a very nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Except they cut my best scene.
Which was?
They cut a scene in the series, which I was very upset about. Yes, it absolutely explained everything I did, and they cut it.
Oh
It
man.
was a scene with me and Tywin, King,
Right.
and he's fishing on the beach, and I come down with some message, And he suddenly looks at me and says, "What's your game?" or words to that effect. I see you're up. You know, there's something going on here. And so I straighten out to my full height and explain what I've been doing in order to avoid execution like everybody else in the series. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I get it. Yes, okay, fair enough, fair enough." And that explains to the audience exactly. It reminds them, and they were told towards the beginning. A lot of people forget things, and they were reminded of that, and they cut that scene.
Oh man!
And you can still see it on television with cut scenes. You can still see it. And if you ever do, you'll go, "Oh yes, Julian was right to be upset about that."
Oh yes,
He was.
Yeah.
Julian, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and giving us
too
some
much.
of your
I'm terribly
time.
sorry.
No,
thank you. This was
we are
such a
on your
treat.
time, so and we love stories. That story is my favorite of the weekend so far.
Well,
but
that's
thank
great.
you so much for joining us at ICCC also, and for just coming to Nashville. I hope our Southern hospitality has been
It
been
is
great
being
for
absolutely
you,
terrific.
and we thank
It's been
you.
very nice to meet you both.
Thank you so much.
sir.
Have a good day. Stay eclectic.
This summer, saddle up in Smashville as the Music City hosts the hottest party of the summer, WWE SummerSlam Nashville. For the first time ever at Nissan Stadium, a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, a whole lot of kick-ass. WWE SummerSlam, Saturday, July 30th. Tickets on sale now.